progress report week 15. Here are my numbers for this week. As you can see, I'm missing some bench press, lat pull downs, and row machine on the third workout of this week. And that's because I ended up trying out a new gym and I felt gym intimidation and I decided to walk out. On Thursday, I wanted to try a new gym. I got it into my feed. They had a free come try it out girls night type thing. And I thought it would be like a positive girl power, supporting each other. I was excited to go. It's only a couple of stations from where I live, so I ended up going. They said they were going to do it from 4 to 8 o'clock at night. And at 6 o'clock, they were going to have some sort of session. I ended up going, so I was there at about 4:30. And so I didn't want to wait till 6 o'clock and do that. I just wanted to do my training or whatever other thing they had for women, because it's supposed to be a girls' night. And I get there and there's some pink balloons around. They had some protein snacks you could try in the entry. The receptionists were really nice and I got a tour. But other than that, there wasn't really anything girls' nighty about it. The gym was full of guys, as it normally is. There was quite a few women as well, probably because of the marketing and the free tryout. But there wasn't any other effort to do anything other than that session that was supposed to start at 6. Got a tour, and walking around with this woman, I asked her some questions, and they had one big rectangle room with all the machines. And there was one walkway. And we walked down that walkway, but I couldn't even go with her into the other areas because it was so tight. I couldn't stand around with her, would just be in the way. I saw some kettlebells, so I asked her, where do you do kettlebell exercises? Do you have a space for that? And she looked around, she's like, well, some people do it in here. And so she showed me on the way to the changing rooms, there's this, I would call it a corridor room, one of these in-between rooms that has lots of doors in and out. Not just to the different changing rooms, but to maintenance and this, that, and the other. So they had put like gym floor in that room as well. But there was no walls with mirrors. There were no training equipment in that room and barely space enough to do a couple of exercises. There was one person there doing it. You could probably fit a few more. But it was not, it was a corridor room. People were walking in and out. It didn't feel good. So I went out into the big room after changing, where all the machines are. I walked around, looked around, and I was not feeling it because mainly it was so tight. There was no walkways other than that one to the side to get anywhere. They had the long side of this rectangle room with barbell stations, which is great. A lot more than at my gym, which is partly why I wanted to go and check it out. But to get there, either you had to go in between machines that were so tight that if anyone was doing anything, you could get injured, or walk along from the short end. But then it was so tight between the machines and the barbell stations that you had to sort of walk with one foot on the floor and one on the platforms. Like you were on their platforms to get to the next machine. That's how tight it was. And I'm very aware of my size, and I feel like I'm in the way just from the size of me, and then coming into space like that where it's so tight, I was not comfortable at all. And, I wasn't starting with a barbell. I started with my squats, but I didn't want to be in that big room. They had a space on the short end with mirrors and free weights, so like you could be there. But I didn't want to be there to do my squats because I didn't want to do them in front of all these people. And so I went and I got to get the dumbbell to go to the other sort of corridor room. But even just to get in to where the free weights were, they had the cable stations. So cable machines where you can lower or upper how you grab onto the cable. When they have 2 of those so that you can stand in the middle and do like a cross, they had those alongside. Even to get through, there was no walkway. You had to walk through, and I think they had either 2 or 3 of these. So if 2 or 3 people were using them, you couldn't get through. In this case, they were not used all at the same time. One of them was used for a guy who was only using the one side of the exercise. So you could walk past him, behind him. But I mean, how's that comfortable for him doing I think he was doing tricep extensions, and with people walking right behind him. Grabbed a dumbbell, walked past, try not to disturb anyone, walked to the other room and started doing my squats. And then a guy comes in with a yoga mat and he sets it up a little bit to the left of where I'm doing my exercise. And I was like, okay. And then another guy comes in with a yoga mat and starts doing his thing. And I only had one set left at that point, so I just did it and walked out. And I want to be clear here. These guys were not being intimidating in and of itself. They weren't giving me mean looks. They weren't even looking at me. They were doing their own thing. You know that you can see on people's expressions what they're feeling, if they feel disgust or anything. Nothing like that. Nothing. Perfectly, probably really kind people. I was just not comfortable doing these exercises in front of them. And so, especially with all these other people walking in and out of this room. So I went back into the big room to do my exercise. I was going to do, I was there for the barbells. Might as well do that. I had to gather my courage, but I did. I saw one station was free. It looked like there were two guys on a machine just behind it. So I asked them, are you using this station? And they said no. I was like, okay, I'll put my stuff there. And then I started looking around for the smaller barbell, the one that's 33 pounds instead of 44 or 45, the standard one, the bigger one. So I used a smaller one to do my deadlifts. And I started looking, and they had a few of those, which is great. My gym only has one. The lighter barbells were all at the one shorter end. So I had to walk past all of these other barbell stations to get it, and then walk past them again with the barbell, trying my hardest not to disturb them and not to hit anything while walking with this big barbell. It turned out fine. It wasn't that bad. It just felt bad. So I'm about to start doing my deadlifts when I'm going to add the weights. I look around and 3 different exercise machines, people are done with them. And some of them were 2 or 3 people at the same machine. And so they started re-racking the weights, which is great. You're supposed to re-rack the weights. Except the weights were right behind my station. And so all these people are suddenly walking to this weight place where they re-rack the weights. And I didn't want to do my exercise because I didn't want to push my big butt in their faces. No, I'm not doing it. So I waited. And after they were done, I started and it was fine, but that was not comfortable. I started doing my exercises and then I did the overhead press. I ended up talking to the women next to me after a while and they were really sweet. I do think the people in there, they were probably really nice, but none of them looked like me. There was no one obese in the whole place. I don't think there was even anyone who was overweight. I think they were all like a healthy BMI, which is great for them. And I love that for them. I just don't feel that comfortable. On the other hand, I don't think there's that many at my gym either. I think I've seen 2 other people who are obese. I've seen a few that are overweight, but it's still mainly like really fit people. At this gym, the new one, they had quite a few bodybuilders, I'm sure. And that's great. I learn a lot from bodybuilders when I do my research online, and I think there's a lot of great people out there. It was probably mostly that it was so tight. I just felt in the way, and it was not comfortable. After that, I tried one more machine, and then I decided to go home. I didn't want to, I just did not feel good. And that's that gym intimidation right there. So I ended up going home. Luckily for me, it was not gym intimidation where people were being mean or making faces. It was just that feeling of not belonging, of not being able to take the space and focus and do the exercises, which I can do at my gym. So yeah, no. Then after that, I had grand ideas of picking up and doing the other exercises the next day. That never happened. I did end up taking a walk this week as well, which I'm happy with. But yeah, so that's what ended up happening. I have a struggle with my current workout routine. And I think it's because I'm getting better at the exercises. For example, the deadlift. I can now push myself to do these exercises and I get fatigued. I get tired from doing them more so than before because I'm better at doing the exercises. And so what's happened is that it's not fun. I get so tired. I start with the squats, then I do the deadlifts, then I do the overhead press. And after the deadlifts, I'm already quite tired. After the overhead press, I'm pooped. I just kind of want to go home. Not really, but also, yeah, kind of. Definitely not in the mood to do an additional 3 compound exercises after that. No. And that feeling of not wanting to do it, I get that before going to the gym now. Like, I don't want to. And that's dangerous. The most important thing is to keep going to the gym, to keep training. So if this workout routine is making me not want to go to the gym, then I need to change it. This week, I would like to continue the workouts routine because I normally do 4 weeks of one routine before switching. I only have 1 more week. I should be able to work through it. But if I feel like not going, if I end up missing a session because of how I feel, then I need to switch it out. It's not worth it. I want to keep the momentum going. As you can see with all these numbers, 15 weeks. I'm really proud. I want to keep going. So we'll see if I end up changing the routine. I definitely will for next week, which is when I normally switch a cycle anyway. I am really excited about it because then I'd get to focus. Like, I'd really want to work harder on deadlifts, squats, legs, and now I'm just too fatigued. It is a struggle. I'm learning, trying new things, and will adapt. So I'm not worried about it. I'll just keep it up. Lastly, this week, something happened that has affected the weigh-in. So I'm going to start with the weigh-in this week. I am, as of today, 374.5 pounds. That's an increase since last week, but it's the same as I was the week before that. So I was 174.5, I went down to 172.8, and then up again to 174.5. Yeah, not so fun to gain weight, of course. I did check my metrics. My scale measures fat versus muscle versus like fluids and stuff. And it does think that I've lost muscle and gained fat. So it's probably not just a muscle gain. And I know the reason. And I'll show you. This is the reason. I went to Costco and I got one of these. This is chocolate covered almonds, Kirkland brand, 3 pounds. I love these. These are amazing. And I should know better than to buy them unless I have a party planned. Because if they're in the house, I'll eat them. I have eaten these 3 pounds of chocolate covered almonds this week. I'm not proud of it, although it was good. So I calculated the calories on that, which is 7,631 calories. That's more than 2 pounds of fat in calories. So that would explain the weight gain for this week. But it depends on my metabolism, if my body actually worked through the almonds, if, what else I ate this week, how the training affected. There's a lot of variables here. I've said it before, I will say it again. I'm not worried going up or down a few pounds, only if it continues for at least 2 to 3 weeks. That's when I consider that an actual change in my body. Let's look at some details of training. I'm not going to go through all the different ones one by one. I'll just put the whole table up here. For the squats, you can see there's no change. I did add a couple pounds, you can see on the last one, from 13 pounds to 17 pounds. But that was just because the 17-pound kettlebell was closer to me than the dumbbell. So I ended up just grabbing that while doing the warm-up squats. When it comes to the deadlifts, I am doing better. I know it. And I can feel it because my muscles tense in my lower back. I told you last week I felt it in my lower back more than my butt. I still do. But before, I could feel my back sort of tense up between, like after the first set. Like I could feel it a lot. Now I only feel it after the third set. So that tells me my muscles are growing. I'm getting more accustomed to this exercise, and that feels good. And I've added a couple of reps as well, as you can see. For the overhead press, I'm doing 44 pounds, 3 times 10. And it's heavy for me, but it feels easier at the second or third set, which tells me I probably need to warm up my muscles more. If I'd warmed them up more before, then I'd probably be able to push harder at that first set, which means it would feel lighter, not lighter, but it would feel better than it does now, which is too heavy. It feels like I can barely do it. But then it feels better at the second, third sets. So again, better warm up next time. In the bench press, I have pushed myself to 82 pounds. Done that twice now, and it feels really good. And I feel I can go even more. So if you can compare to the weeks before, that's an increase from 71 pounds now to 82. Feels really good. The lat pull downs, I've done the same as the week before, but I did feel this last session yesterday that I could push harder. So I'm going to aim to increase the weight for this in the coming week. And for the row machine, I started doing sets of 5 reps instead of 10 or thereabouts. And it's actually been really helpful. This machine is the one I'm struggling with the most. And doing shorter sets just makes it easier for me to get through them. I feel that I only need to do 5. I only need to do 5. Just do it, get it over with, and then I can, and it works out. 15 weeks done. Keep going to the gym. I keep doing the exercises and the work, and it feels good. If I can do this, you can too. I'll see you at the gym.